It's time for another Out of Bounds Rewind with Bo Bounds on ESPN 105.9, The Zone.
Steve, are you ready to call it? Kendal Briles will be the next offensive coordinator at Mississippi State?
Not quite yet. I do think things are trending in a positive direction, but, these things can get complicated. I mean, he has an offer from Mississippi State to join the program, and I understand it's a very lucrative offer, but the bigger part of it is control. He would have autonomy to run the scheme the way that he wants to. I understand that he'll have a say in who the running back and the offensive line coach would be. And so that's attractive to him. I've talked to some people that are pretty close to the situation, and they say things appear to be trending in a positive direction, but Arkansas is certainly working hard to keep him. And, this is not a situation where it's just, okay, we want you to come and you come. There's some give and take in all this, and they're working through it.
Do you expect that Kendal Briles will give Arnett a yes or no today?
I don't know if it'll be today. I know ideally what they'd love to have happen is get some of these newer coaches on campus for this weekend. They're going to be hosting some portal visitors, and obviously there's some guys that are going to want to know who's going to be coaching them, who's going to be calling the plays. And so I think ideally you'd love to know today, but I don't think it's a requirement you have to know today. I don't think he's on the clock today, but you also can't afford to let this thing linger on, very long. I think you've got to get a decision, and if it's not a positive decision, you've got to go to the next guy on your list, and there's still a handful of guys out there. And, when there is an offer on the table, people are a little reluctant to talk about who might be next. But I think we could know today. I don't know that we have to know today.
And did Mississippi State offer $2 million a year?
I don't know that I can go that high yet. I do know that I'll just say it's a very lucrative offer, and terms have not really been disclosed just yet. But the thing that I think Mississippi State fans should be encouraged about is that Arnett is out here going big game hunting. This is a sitting SEC West offensive coordinator, a guy that is considered one of the best young minds in the game. And, he could play it safe and go get somebody else. But, you go shoot for the stars and maybe land on the moon, And so I admire what Zach Arnett is doing. I appreciate the approach he's having. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, this may be the most significant hire of his coaching career. I mean, he has got to get this hire right.
Yeah.
If not, his stay at Mississippi State will be a short one, and then he may never get another opportunity again. And so it's clear to me he is doing the things that he needs to do to ensure this program continues to move forward.
Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds show. All right, let's say it's Kendal Briles, and I know that it may not be. But they're going to modify this thing. But you've also got a quarterback who fits the traditional air raid but has zero mobility. So if this all plays out today or maybe over the next 24 hours, when everybody's talking about modifying the offense, and you already just told us that it will be modified, and that it's obvious if you're going to have a tight ends coach, it's going to be modified. So how much will it be, and how does it fit Will Rogers, or does it? What do you think?
Well, I think it does. I think one of the things that I've heard from talking to some of our Arkansas folks is that philosophically, Sam Pittman and Kendal Briles are not always on the same page. I mean, Sam is an offensive line coach by trade. Those guys want to run football. They want to get out there and impose their will and dominate the line of scrimmage. And Kendal is more in that Mike Leach, Art Briles, air raid type offense. They want to throw it. They don't want to have to throw it 75 times a game, though. So I think, what you're seeing is what I think a lot of our fans have wanted to see is a little more balance. And I think that's where Kendal Briles kind of protects you in that respect. It's yes, there are some elements of the air raid that still exist, but by adding the tight end, you're going to add kind of a power game running element to this. And I think that's what people want. I think we all saw it this year. I mean, listen, Mississippi State won 9 games and at times was woefully inconsistent on offense. I think a lot of that too is just because people were just sitting back because State had become predictable. And so now all of a sudden you add a more serious commitment to the running component. And I think that's what Briles brings. I think Briles wants to throw it around, but maybe perhaps he's learned a little bit under Sam Pittman that, when the times get tough, this is still a line of scrimmage league. And so I think you'd see more balance with that. And I think, again, that's why you bring in tight ends. And I've heard that all year, is that we probably need to go get a couple tight ends just because of the fact that we need that extra blocker on third and short. So I think fans are kind of getting what they want from Zach Arnett in this respect, and that's some innovation of this offense.
Okay, I think the key word is a little more balance. I do believe that you've been following Mississippi State football for a long time. I have too. They've never had the ability to come from behind. The reason why they've had the ability to come from behind since Leach took over, as you know, Steve, is throwing the football. And so, and I think being able to throw it at a pretty high level efficiently allows you to make more mistakes during the game rather than a 3-yard and a cloud of dust. So you're not saying that by any stretch. It's not going to be even close to even though Dan Mullen brought more passing to the table. Obviously, this is a program that didn't believe in the forward pass until the last 10 or 12 years. But even Dan bringing more of throwing the football to the table, he still ran a power spread. You're not saying by any stretch that Kendal Briles and Zach Arnett want to go that way. They just may want to tweak it a little bit as far as showing some tight end sets and running it a little bit more. Is that right or no?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Kind of the beauty of the Dan Mullen offense is he spreads you out and then has the power game running element. I mean, all the quarterback power and a lot of counters and things like that. So now you're not going back in that direction, but what you are doing is enabling that offense to take more of what the defense gives you. So if they want to drop 8, that's absolutely cool. You can go 11 or 12 personnel if you need to, and you can go out there and force them to kind of adjust to what you're doing. There were times this year, State would throw it a dozen times in a row, and all of a sudden, the defensive ends can just kind of pin their ears back because they didn't have to respect the run. I think you have to make them respect the run, and that'll open up more in the passing game.
Okay.
Don't miss one moment of the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Weekdays, 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. on ESPN 105.9. The Zone.